Everyone really wants to get that coveted spot at the World Championship in Tokyo, Japan. So as you mentioned, Jack is going to give it a shot here to become a European champion. And, well, as you said, he's already qualified for Macedo. So quite a competent player here. And Andreas is going to lead with a unicorn.
Yeah, really good start. Obviously, compared with the latest Forbidden Unlimited list, the car is now at 2, but still the deck can do really good stuff. And I saw the birth, so yes, both Theosis and birth.
Yeah, pretty strong opening here, and losing a little bit of consistency because of the Forbidden Limited list. But speaking of consistency, I mean, if there's one deck in this matchup that's lost that over Forbidden Limited list, it's Tearlaments, right?
For sure. And it's still here, so it's... I mean, I'm curious to seeing how basically Jack decided to build the deck, and especially as you mentioned, you know, he has quite a few experience in Master Duel, so he does have for sure some time to test this out.
Here, as we can see, there is the big first decision. Do we go for a greedy line? No. It seems like he might just even go for a Rise, and that's it, to play around Nibiru. Because usually what you can do now with the new version of the deck is to just go for a Shangri-La here, and then end on both the Shangri-La and a free material. Yeah. Gonna get rid of 3 cards from the top of the deck, which is huge, because all of the Tearlaments access fusions are limited to 1. So if those are gone, you don't have access to any of them anymore.
Yeah, really relevant in this matchup when your deck has very so many limited cards, and that's something that can really hurt you in this matchup. It is not a tough. It is a very tough matchup here with just a simple Rise Heart pass. This is going to be quite a boss monster to deal with here, and as you can see, Jack immediately picks up his banish pile here to check if he's hit any of those important tier names.
And yeah, Arise pass actually, with a super polymerization in the end from Jack. That actually could be a really good play from Andreas, not overextending at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really good hand I can see here actually from Jack, and it's, you know, a hand that unfortunately can struggle a little bit with Rise Heart, but yeah, that super polymerization could be putting in a decent amount of work here.
So it seems like he has double King of the Swamp, Malicious, and some tiers name, probably a Rhino Heart and a Guido, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a Guido, and
I think he wants to. Yeah.
He just picked up his cars. Wow. Really, really interesting start to this match. Wow. Honestly,
I think it's just, as you've mentioned before, the idea that you hide that information from your opponent, you know, so they don't know what you're playing. And as good of a hand as he had, I felt like it's just maybe not great into a Rise Heart.
Yeah, maybe I think he took a look at his extra deck to see whether he could have activated the Super Poly or not, and I think this was one of the main reasons why I decided to go to Game 2. On one hand, I think it makes sense because you don't want to reveal any information to your opponent, but I mean, of course, kind of a slow start for him, unfortunately. Nothing going on with a lot of monster being drawn.
Yeah, I mean, a Rise Heart is just too strong for a deck that relies entirely on the graveyard. But at the same time, Jack's experienced player decided to hide away information. At the same time, I think information is still revealed in a way. Your opponent knows that a Rise Heart is amazing against your deck if you just pick up your cards and just scoop. But I mean, regardless of this anticlimactic ending for Game 1, now Jack is gonna go first, try to set up his field. What do you think he has in store with the side deck for this particular matchup?
He's got a lot of tools in here, as you mentioned, with the King of the Swamp, replacing the important material that requires the Rue Kalos summon because of Kit Kalos forbidding. Yep. You know, you do play a lot of ways to get to your graveyard access, which is why we're running the Malicious. Beatrice actually being an extremely important combo piece of the Tearlaments strategy. Now, there's a lot of ways as well that lets you manipulate your plays here, because, you know, Foolish Burrow from deck lets you get into anything. You know, you've got your Mills with the Guido and Kelbeck, you've got the Destrudo to access further synchro plays. So a few options here, actually, for his turn 1. I'm really curious to see how that weighs up.
The issue is that a Rise Heart is not the only Macrocosmo-like effect in the deck. We could see Dimension Shifter coming down from Andreas, and that is why, actually, Jack is siding the 1 copy of Call by the Grave. That could be an useful card to put in this matchup, but our duelists quickly are over with their side decks, so let's jump back into Game 2.
Goes to show the power of a boss monster. You know, we've seen so many different iterations of what it means to have a turn 1 guy you establish on the field and sit and protect. I mean, classics all the way going back to, you know, Yamato and then Masterpiece, and here we are with the Rise Heart. So they've been changing over the years. That's a good start from Jack. We've got Terraforming for Tearlaments.
The 5th card, actually, that saved the day. The rest of the end wasn't amazing, but this opens up a lot of plays with King of the Swamp and Malicious in his hand at the moment, unless the Shifter comes down. So I think he's really gonna cross his fingers that that's not happening.
Yeah, Dimension Shifter is an absolute turn-ending card because of just the power of shutting off an entire graveyard for multiple turns, not just the one turn that you drop it on. So graveyard decks do struggle with that.
Gonna activate it, but there is an Ash. Ooh, this could hurt so much.
No, that's rough.
I think this might be a pass because there isn't anything else in the end.
I mean, we were locked and loaded, right? We had Scream, we had a Malicious Descent off of Shiren potentially.
This could be one of the quickest ones we have seen overall, because he does have King of the Swamp, but the rest of his hand is just a Scream and then...
Meta Noise?
I think the other one, right? Yeah.
All right, good old King of the Swamp here as the replacement material effect that it has in the graveyard.
I think it's Saliek, Scream and Malicious, yeah. So that's it. He doesn't really have anything else to keep going, and this is brutal. Just gonna set the Saliek and pass back to Andreas, who already has a Fenrir, and picks up another Ash Blossom. Wow.
All right, well, there is Pressure Planet Wraithoth, a great starter card that you want to see in the Kashtira strategy, searching for any monster out of your deck here. Goes for the all-important Unicorn, the main searcher of the deck. Don't forget, Unicorn also has a really important extra deck rip in the same way that Diablosis used to work, in that it can remove really important key pieces of this deck. I mean, I'm looking at...
Yeah, this could be the quickest one we have had after a long and grinded round 1, but yeah, this could be just game, honestly. If he feels like he can take the risk, maybe, doesn't play around, you know, Nibiru or anything like that, he has the tools needed to just OTK here. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's rough, man, when you've opened a hand that just is missing that one all-important combo piece and you get hit with an Ash Blossom. I mean, sometimes, you know, you can just keep playing anyway. Maybe if you had, like, a tier, like, heavy hand, you can just activate the Polymerization, maybe do stuff with that. But, yeah, that's the issue when you have such a, you know, crippled deck from the Forbidden Limitless with all of the cards being at 1.
And now we see a defense position, actually. Rise Heart gonna banish the top 3 cards face down, and is actually able to destroy the set card, which could be risky because he could give an Avnis to Jack. Yeah.
I never like destroying set cards against Tearlaments.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely skip on it. At the same time, this is actually not the case. This will be on a new chain. Yeah, so... As you can see here, new chain occurs, he gets to special summon the Fenrir. And yeah, this could be a risk because...
wow, it's that Ash Blossom on Saliek.
Did he not special summon the Fenrir? Wow.
He didn't, right?
He just added back to the end with the Big Bang.
He's playing quite safe and conservatively.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any reason why we're kind of holding back on pushing?
Not really. To be totally honest with you, if you smell this weakness from your opponent, you're really risking it.
Yeah. I suppose that's 4 summons, right? So trying to play around Nibiru.
But as you mentioned, even destroying this face down didn't seem like the most...
I guess he was kind of safe because he felt like he's got Ash in hand, so it didn't really matter too much.
But let's see this top deck from Jack. Oh, it's the call by 1 turn too late. That would have been amazing against the Ash. And there is simply nothing he can do. Now the Shangri-La can be activated in the standby phase to destroy the Perle Rhino and to bring a Fenrir or Unicorn to the field. But that's about it in terms of interruptions from Jack. He has nothing going on for him. This is a brutal show of dominance from Andreas.
Yeah, it just goes to show the power of a deck like Kashtira that doesn't have to really do too much just with 1 or 2 cards, but those 1 or 2 cards are really, really powerful, and backed up with non-engine like Ash Blossom, it can really, really hurt a rogue deck like this. Feels crazy to call this a rogue deck this day and age, but wow, it's that's where we're at.
And unfortunately, just a face down here.
4,800 life points. I mean, there isn't really too much in the way of stopping this here.
And as you see here, he can use in the standby, but I think he missed out on it. Probably activating just the Fenrir in his main phase to search for the Unicorn. And yeah, this seems like it's just a matter of moments until Andreas can switch his cards to attack, enter battle phase, and this could be just the end of this match.
Managing Perlerino face down on the declaration, triggering the Wraithsoft to destroy the call by, locking a zone, and yeah, more than 4,800 damage here.
Absolutely, gonna trigger the Arise Art and then use his own planet to destroy once again the face down from Jack.
Well, he gets an early lunch.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's that to look forward to, you know.
I mean, sometimes it just goes
It
your way,
happens,
and as you can see here, it just gets back one more card, attacks, and this is enough to win game 2 and the entire match from Andreas, it seems like.
Just double checking the numbers here, potentially. I think
yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there it is.
And there it is, quick and easy. Andreas is the winner. What a match, honestly, quite different from round 1. Unfortunately, Arise Art in game 1 was enough to completely seal the deal. In game 2, the opening was again quite underwhelming. The 5th card, Terraforming, giving him hope. He gets the Perlerino, but Ash Blossom completely shuts him down. And although Andreas actually risked it a little bit by giving his opponent another turn and even destroying the face down Saliek, in the end there was nothing he could do. And unfortunately, he's gonna move on with a 1-1 record. On the other end, Andreas moving undefeated.
Yeah, it's I suppose one of the risks you play with such a glass cannon deck like this. I mean, Tearlaments all about gas, all about pushing and using your whole hand, and you know, sometimes you're just missing that one extra piece. But when everything is limited to 1, do you think it's a bad call for this kind of event?
No, I mean, the thing is that I think Jack felt confident with the deck. He tested it out as well, and also I think he wanted to show basically how still Tearlaments powerful. But I mean, it can happen with this kind of end. If your opponent, you know, has the Ash Blossom at the right moment, it's just a matter of fact. And also, he drew into another copy, which, you know, there would have been the Ovnis being activated, so maybe would have had a chance. But still, I mean, it's a long way to go. And
yeah, that's sometimes you just have to take the variance on the chin. Occasionally, you will just get a bad matchup or a hand that is a little bit underwhelming, but try and even that out over the course of the whole weekend.
I mean, trying to get to zone out. As mentioned, this was just round 2, and we have 9 rounds in total for the day, so 7 remainings, and you're still totally fine to make it to day 2, and especially to that top 64, where duelists will battle it out for the World Championship spots and for a chance to becoming European champions. So I think overall they will still look out for the competition, maybe take the rest of the round to just look at the top tables, what's going on, if there is any peculiar decks around. Obviously, as we'll be able to tell you guys more in detail about the deck breakdown throughout the event as the day goes by. I'm sure though that variety is the key word. We have interviewed a lot of duelists. We will have some interviews for you guys later on, but I think we have hardly had a single or unique response. A lot of different choices, and most people just went with what they were more comfortable with this time around. There is definitely not the best deck in the room, we could say, and it could really go either way, and a lot of different decks can make it to the top 64, I would say.
I'm sure we'll see a decent amount of representation from, you know, the usual suspects like Kashtira, maybe some Branded and Dragons. But for now, yeah, as you mentioned, it's a really wide open kind of format so far. You know, it's the first major European event since the Forbidden Limitless, and I think while people are trying to establish exactly what they think are the best decks.
Just as a final reminder and just as a cutscene, you know, before a boss fight, now in round 3, all of the national champions will appear in the tournament after their first round 2 buys. They are now entering competition with a 2-all record, and I think also with their seated table, they're gonna stay there for the remainings. And so once you will get against them, you get a chance to fight back against any of the national championship. We have over 20 national champions, so I'm sure we will get the chance and try to bring some of them for you guys to witness them in action. But regardless, thank you guys for being with us. We have Ed ready for the winner interviews with Andreas.